Okay, I think we're live. I'm pretty sure we're live. All right, so it is. Yeah, I'm actually here at almost 12:30. It's awesome. So it's 12:34, 1/27, 2024, early Saturday morning, and we'll be going over some of the true crime cases of the week. Um, and without any issues, I should be back shortly. Hey, Dandy, how are you? Good to see you. Hope you're well. Hope everybody's well. Let me play my intro, and I'll be, I think, right back. Let's go. Let's hope this works. Okay, so I figured it out. I can't scroll the ticker when I'm playing my intros because it keeps cutting in and out. So, good news is we figured it out, and so there you have it. So, hello everybody. How is everybody doing? Hi Jocelyn. Hi Dandy. Um, Thank you guys for coming in. Been a crazy week. I get to go to a funeral tomorrow, so that's fantastic. I hate funerals, especially when it's your brother's funeral. But anyways, um, so I hope everybody had a good week. A lot of crazy things going on here. Let me hide my face. Let's see. There we go. And I'm gonna start. What I wanted to do is start with this crazy case here of. Let's see here. I had everything all set up. Um, uh, Having to do with these Kansas City Chiefs fans who were found unalived. So we're going to go back all the way back to, I think this was like 8 days ago. So we'll start there. So, I mean, hold on. And we'll go there. Like I said, I hope everybody's doing well. Let's share that. So for anybody that doesn't know about this case here, let me it to you here. So questions remain after 3 guys were found unalived outside of a Kansas City home last week. Now family and friends of the deceased are demanding answers. And this snippet here is from News Nation. So here we go.
Found dead outside of a friend's home after they'd all gone over to watch the Chiefs game with him last Sunday. The living friend, whose home they had gone to, never contacted the police, claiming the 3 men identified as 38-year-old Ricky Johnson, 37-year-old David Harrington, and 36-year-old Clayton McGinney froze to death outside of his home. According to Kansas City police, loved one.
It's Southern Gal. Hello, Southern Gal. How are you? Good to see you in here. Yeah, it's gonna suck tomorrow. What are you gonna do? Today, anyway. Sorry, not tomorrow. Today. The good news is it's not gonna snow, rain, or sleet or ice tomorrow.
Ones were trying to get in touch with the men, but were not getting responses. That's when the fiance of one of them went to the home. No one answered the front door. The woman broke through a basement window and found a body on the back porch. 2 other bodies were found by the police in the backyard shortly after. Now, some family and friends are not buying the explanation that, 3 guys just freeze to death outside someone's home when they went to watch a football game. David Harrington's mother, Jennifer Marquez, recently spoke to our Kansas City affiliate to air her frustrations.
I'm furious. Everybody's furious. Nobody believes this story.
Friends of the 3 men also took to social media to air their anger. One friend saying, "This man was inside his home alive. All my friends were dead in his yard for Lord knows how long. They were all hanging out since after the game Sunday. He knew people were looking for them. He read messages of people searching for him on Tuesday. My husband banged on his door for 20 minutes. My friend banged on a door and then busted a window and yelled and announced her presence while she's inside, and still nothing from him. Then the cops come 10 minutes later, and he comes out nonchalant in his boxers with an empty wine glass in his hand. Nothing is adding up." Dave, Clay, and...
We'll do, Dandy. I'll take a look at that for sure. We'll go over that too. There's a lot of shit going on right now out there, case-wise. So we'll play this and then I'll read this little thing here.
Ricky need and deserve justice. They didn't deserve this. Autopsy results are currently pending, but as of now, the police are saying no signs of foul play. And they're not treating this as a homicide investigation. That seems curious, right? They just died? They just froze? I'm sure we're going to get more information once the autopsies come out, but I'm even trying to think about how this could happen, right? They go to the game, they watch the game, they go outside, they can't get back into the house, but what, none of them had cell phones? I mean,
I don't know if anybody's ever been to a football game, especially a professional NFL football game, but it's for one, it's too cold for me these days. I've gone before, but myself personally, I'd rather stay home and watch it. But you can get crowds can get pretty serious there. I don't know if that's happened in this one, but this was done. When was this done? This was done 8 days ago. So I'll kind of lead up to the now on this here.
Don't understand it. Anyway, big show tomorrow. We're covering all things crime, hitting everything from the stunning news out of the Scott Peterson case that the Innocence Project is now representing him, to the upcoming Alex Murdaugh hearing, how Gypsy Rose Blanchard has gone viral since her release from prison, Geraldo Rivera, Ashley Banfield, Jesse Weber. How's that for an all-star panel? Banfield starts now. Thank you for watching.
All right, so let's get out of that one. We'll go to something a little bit more recent. This case here, let's do 7 days ago, and this is News Nation here.
Now to the bizarre story out of Kansas City. 3 guys found dead outside of a friend's home after they'd all gone over to watch a Kansas City Chiefs game with him. And the living friend, whose home they'd gone to, apparently never contacted the police. apparently claiming days later that the three men identified as 38-year-old Ricky Johnson, 37-year-old David Harrington, 36-year-old Clayton McGinney, froze to death outside of his home.
I used to do a lot of shit years ago, but now that I'm an old fart, I don't do a lot of this stuff anymore, but especially rock concerts. Like, we used to get so blitzed before rock concerts, but I never understood going to a football game. Like around here, I don't feel like freezing my ass off. So, but I don't know what's going on with this either. It doesn't sound right.
The autopsy results are currently pending, but as of now, police are saying there are no signs of foul play and are not treating this as a homicide investigation. Joining us now is John Paserno, the attorney for the homeowner. Thanks a lot for coming on the program. Appreciate it. All right, so a lot of people, particularly family members of those who died, have a lot of questions for your client. What does he say happened here?
Well, at this time, he doesn't say anything different than what he's told police previously, that he has no knowledge of what happened to those young men after they left his home.
Let me read you. This is from one of his friends, from one of the friends of the one of the people who died, who said on Facebook, "The man was inside his home alive while my friends were dead in his yard for Lord knows how long. They were all hanging out since after the game Sunday. He knew people were looking for them. He read messages of people searching for him on Tuesday. My husband banged on his door for 20 minutes. My friend banged on the door and then busted a window and yelled and announced her presence while she's inside and still nothing from him. Then the cops come 10 minutes later and he comes out nonchalant in his boxers with an empty wine glass in his hand. Nothing is adding up. Dave, Clay, and Ricky need and deserve justice. They didn't deserve this." Your response?
Either do I, Southern Gal. I don't remember. I don't even remember being in Texas, but I know I was in Texas once. I don't remember anything about Memphis either. So, yeah.
Sure, even if all of those things are true, that doesn't mean he had anything to do with what happened to those young men. Obviously, three men who die all at the same time, and there's no signs of foul play whatsoever from the police. There's nothing to indicate that Jordan had any involvement whatsoever in their deaths. I spoke with the prosecutor this morning.
You guys are awesome. I love the comedy. It's fantastic. All right, let's. So I'm going to kind of read this a little bit because this was done. Let's see. This is 26th, which was at yesterday, 9:49 p.m. So there was a fifth man who attended a Kansas City Chiefs watch party and left before three of his friends were found later frozen in the host's backyard and has been identified in a new report as Alex Weeman Lee. Police found Harrington, Johnson, and McGinney's bodies in Willis's rental home yard 2 days later during a welfare check, and texts to their phones went unreachable. His lawyer said he was asleep on the couch next to a loud fan while wearing noisy canceling headphones for nearly 2 days. Really? The case is not being investigated as a homicide, and police have emphatically said that no foul play is suspected, so they're not treating this like a crime.
As a matter of fact, the toxicology reports are due in a couple of weeks, and we can all speculate as to how.
The toxicology reports will probably tell quite a bit. Hey, Steve, it's Steve. Steve's in here. Hey, buddy.
They died. But as far as my client being involved, Jordan didn't have anything to do with their deaths. When
this is the lawyer. Okay.
They left his home after the game. He didn't even really know which door they went out. They were in the backyard. He doesn't use that particular door. He goes out in the front. And so he had no knowledge that they were out there until.
Whenever Steve's in here, I always feel like I got to be on my best behavior. I don't know why.
Tuesday when he was told that they were out there.
And what of the claims from the families that they were trying to contact him and he wouldn't respond and they were going to the house, et cetera?
Sure. I don't know about whether or not they went to the house or tried to contact him, but he was home sporadically. I know another allegation I've seen floating out there is that he would have had to put the dogs out, that the dogs would have went in the backyard, and that's untrue as well. The dogs stay at his dad's house, which his dad lives in a different location, and that's where the dogs were. He had no reason to go in the backyard. As you can see there, we've had recent snowstorms and that kind of thing. So he had absolutely no knowledge that they were out there. They were his friends. They were at his house socializing. If he had found them out there or if they were in danger, he would have called the police and tried to help them. He's a highly educated guy. He's a good guy. He has a full-time job. In no way would he try to harm his buddies.
And to be really clear, he didn't know that there were 3 dead, frozen friends outside his house.
Correct. No idea. I mean, if you didn't look in your backyard, how would you know that?
Is that in Colorado, Dandy? The one you told me to look up?
All right, John Paserno, thank you so much for coming on the program. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
Let's get back with the panel. Geraldo Rivera, Ashley Banfield, and Jesse Weber. All right, Ashley, it's cold where they are there. You grew up in incredibly cold weather as well. What do you make of what Mr. Paserno is saying there?
I grew up in minus 30, so I don't think Kansas City's cold at all. However, look, I get what Mr. Paserno is saying, and that it does make sense. I once rented a dumpy house that I never saw the backyard at all. I did, however, see cars in my driveway, and those friends.
Sleeping for 3 straight days would be like a dream come true, right? Like if I could sleep for 3 straight days. Grand Junction, about 2 miles away. So Colorado, right? Dandy. Human head and hands discovered at newly sold. Yeah, I'll look into that for sure. We'll play that right after this stuff here. All right, back to this.
Had vehicles still in the driveway for 2 days after the game. So that's a hard one to sort of put my head around, because if he indeed is going out that front door to and from wherever he goes every day, isn't he calling the friends to say, come get your cars? That didn't happen. And I'm very, very concerned about what Kaylee Laturion said in her Facebook. They broke.
I'm not a big fan of believing in accidents sometimes. Like, I'm sure they do happen, but I don't know. This case is a little weird.
In to the house calling his name, and he didn't answer, and they're in his house, and they find the bodies, and then 10 minutes later he's coming out with a wine glass in his underwear. All of that very uncomfortable.
Jesse?
Yeah, 3 straight hours would work. Anything sleep related would work for sure.
It's strange. I don't think we learned too much from this interview. I mean, he emphasized something that I thought was interesting. All 3 died presumably at the same time. That's very curious. And if they had cell phones on them, if it was a case they got locked out of the house or in trouble, they didn't contact anybody else. There's a lot of unanswered questions here. And I'm not surprised from this attorney that we didn't get those answers, because he is representing his client in a really difficult situation right now.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
All right, so we're going to go, hold on a second. I'm going to get out of this, stop sharing this. I'll play one more, and then we'll, let's see here. What am I doing? Right here. This is the one I want to watch. So this was done, when was this done? This was done 2 days ago. So we're going to fast forward to 2 days ago, see if we can find out some more info on this here. I hope everybody's having a good night, good week. Right here. All right, so this was done, like I said, this is from Fox. This was done 2 days ago. So these are new details. So let's check it out.
Us here on Live Now from Fox, continuing on with more of today's top stories and headlines. And one of these stories is a very confusing one that has people questioning a lot of the details surrounding the investigation. And it has to do with the investigation and the death of 3 Chiefs fans who were found dead in their friend's backyard. For the very latest on this investigation, let's bring in Fox's CB Cotton, who joins us live right now. CB, thanks so much for being here. Walk us through what we know and what new details have now come to light.
Hi, Lexi. Well, calls, text, Facebook messages, they all went unanswered for 2 days, according to loved ones who say They tried to track down Ricky Johnson, David Harrington, and Clayton McGeeney. These three friends had all been hanging out with Jordan Willis at his home on the night of January 7th. Willis's attorney says his client saw his friends leave through the front door before going to bed. But get this, Lexi, for the next 2 days, Willis never noticed anything was wrong. I spoke with Willis's attorney, who says these were his buddies, some close friends, and he says that if Willis, his client, had saw them outside, he would have, of course, ran to help. However, this attorney tells me his client slept in most of the day on Monday and didn't leave the house on Tuesday either because he works from home. So the victim's loved ones and a fifth friend, though, a fifth friend who had been inside that home that night, they've all said Willis and his attorney keep changing their story about what actually happened, and they're hoping to find more answers soon with the autopsy and toxicology results, which are still pending. Now, get this, Lexi, Willis has...
That was a funny from Steve. Hey, Lipsa, how are you? Good to see you. Awesome to have you in the chat. Thank you for coming in. I know it's late. It's actually early for me. That was funny. Where did Steve's comment go? He said, Kohlberger, Hewerman, and Allen over for a Super Bowl party. Absolutely. In the cold.
Since moved out of the home, police have not made any arrest, and Kansas City police officers tell me they don't suspect foul play. This case is tragic, and it has a lot of people really scratching their heads right now.
Yeah, and hearing just those details there too, CB, it has me questioning a lot of the things with this, and I'm sure many viewers who are listening feel the same. So I want to ask you about that fifth friend that was there. Do we know anything more about that individual right now?
So our Kansas City affiliate has done some really great reporting on this story.
I don't think anybody's going to know anything until the toxicology comes back. But who knows? I think this is just an accident, though. But
they followed it very, very closely. The reporter there spoke with that fifth man over the phone, and they also spoke with that fifth man's attorney. He's now lawyered up, I should say. And the attorney also echoing similar sentiments from the loved ones of the victims, that the story being shared by Willis out in the public eye is not how he remembers it. This fifth friend said through his attorney that when he left the house that night, he recalled all four men. That would be Jordan Willis, Ricky Johnson.
I just wanted to share that this is a really good iced coffee right here. It's really doing the trick. Just wanted to share that. Back to this here.
David Harrington and Clayton McGeeney. This fifth friend says he recalls all four of them being awake, up, watching Jeopardy. So that's
all you have to do is read the cue card. That's all you got to do with a prompter. There's really not a lot more. Just read the words in front of you. That's all you got to do.
Latest detail or clue that we have learned from the attorney of this fifth man.
In the autopsy results, when do you think we can expect to get that back to them?
So Jordan Willis's attorney tells me he's been told about a 2-week time frame period. We have reached out to the company which provides autopsy results, conducts the autopsies for Kansas City Police Department, and we're still waiting to hear back. But what we've heard from Jordan Willis's attorney is that he's expecting to get those results in about 2 weeks. And he also says he thinks it's going to shed some light on what may have happened.
Sure, and one last question for you, CB. The friend whose house this all happened at, he is moving out or has moved out, as you said there. Do we know why? I mean, the circumstances surrounding this are already strange enough.
Absolutely, they are. So that friend is Jordan Willis, and his attorney told me yesterday in an interview that his client moved out because of all the scrutiny surrounding the circumstances. He says his client, he did nothing wrong that night. Went on to say that these three men were some of his closest friends, and had he known they were in danger, he would have tried to help. But he said he's just been thrust.
Hey, Karen, how are you? It's Karen. Karen's in the house. Karen Lee's in the house. Karen's awesome. Thank you for coming in, Karen.
into the public eye because of this case. It's been overwhelming. And so he decided to pack up and leave. And I think there's a lot more to watch with this story. It's, again, a lot of unanswered questions. People want to know more. And it's obviously very tragic for the loved ones involved. We did speak with the loved one of one of the victims, the father of Ricky Johnson, one of the victims. And the father tells me that his son leaves behind 3 children and they're
Oh,
just
that sucks.
devastated. So this is really heartbreaking.
Oh, that sucks. All right, so let's hold on a second. Let's go here. I want to play this one, last one, and then I'm going to go to the case that Danny talked about here. Give me a second. I'm going to go here. Nope. Where am I here? I want to go to this one here. Right here. This is okay. So let's share this here. So this is not the latest one, but this is pretty close. This is coming from the families. Here we go.
The families who are understandably devastated. Joining me now exclusively is Jennifer Marquez. She is David Harrington's mom. Jennifer, thank you for doing this, and I am so sorry that we're meeting under these circumstances. What have the police told you, if anything?
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
They haven't told me anything. I spoke with the detective today, and he didn't
That's strange how they haven't told her anything.
release any information to me. I asked him a few questions, and I told him some things that I had heard from people that were David's friends, and he seemed interested in some things, but they did not give me any information. And it took me 3 calls to get.
I would think that if this was not being considered suspicious, that they'd be telling her a lot of shit. But that's just, I don't know.
Anybody to call me back today. And that was the first time I'd
Usually if there's something going on, they won't tell the family much.
spoken with anybody since about a week and a half now.
What did they tell you about Jordan Willis? Because they've spoken to him. They're not telling us what Jordan Willis has said, but did they say anything to you about what Jordan Willis said?
No, they have not said anything about what Jordan has said. The only things that I've heard are what his lawyer has said on the news. I have not heard a single thing from him or from the police about him. The reports I get are strictly from news.
So the detective never said anything like Jordan's story adds up or anything like that?
Well, yet 2 weeks ago, right when I found out, there was a police officer that I spoke to. I think it was the day after I found out what happened. I had called to ask what I was supposed to be doing. And an officer that I spoke to in the morning, when I was talking to him, he said that they were allowed to go in the night that they were called to Jordan's house, and that they looked around and that they took Jordan in and they talked to him, and that his story added up. And he hesitated for a minute and said, I'm not really allowed to go into very much, but when it's all released, it's going to make sense. And I thought, how could that make sense? It's only, in my perspective, it was only 2 days after I found out, or a day after I found out. So only a couple days.
It makes me wonder.
It's just kind of weird how they're keeping things a secret from her, even though they're treating this like it's an accident or not suspicious. That's kind of weird.
I saw my son,
they seem to think that something might make sense, which makes me wonder they maybe spotted something when they were in the home that night. Did the detective who talked to you tell you anything about what he saw inside the home? Like what was on the coffee table? Was there any drug paraphernalia? Anything that made him jump to that whole idea that it will make sense?
No, he didn't say anything, and it didn't sit well with me what he said, so I called.
No, Southern Gal, I just gotta go. They scheduled my brother's viewing for tomorrow, so I gotta go do that. All the way down to Massachusetts. So, hey, honeybee, how are you? Good to see you. You can't stay. Yeah, it's late. Sorry, but good to have you in the chat for a little while. It's always good to see Honeybee. Honeybee's awesome. Have enough ice yet, Honeybee? I mean, the ice around here right now is just absolutely horrible.
Back and talked to, at that time, the main detective that I had been told to talk to. And she somewhat corrected what he said. She said that they were still investigating everything. Nothing was determined. That she couldn't tell me anything, but that they hadn't stopped.
Thank you all for your thoughts and stuff. I appreciate it. Hi, Yes. You still don't have any? Oh, you still have power. Good. Yeah, we have power too. I probably shouldn't have said that because I'll probably lose it right now.
With the investigation. And that's pretty much what the detective told me today, is that they were still looking.
I've always said rain in New Hampshire at the end of January is never good. Rain in the wintertime here is never good.
And with some of the things that I told him that I'd heard, he seems a little interested, that there were
Thank you, Dandy.
things that he had.
Plane crash where? See, I don't even know what's going on in my own state. I know that the Adam Montgomery trial is going to start pretty soon, and I'll be covering that for sure.
Not heard. And
I hope that guy fries for a long time. I just can't stand him, Adam Montgomery. He's just such a horrible liar and a terrible parent.
I feel like
what sort of things?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say.
Did it have to do with
I'm not
anyone
sure.
else in this? Did it have to do with anybody else in this story? Meaning, there were 5 men who were together that night. One left at midnight, he says. The other was the homeowner, and the 3 victims included your son. Did the detective suggest there might be anybody else?
I don't know Missouri law. This was in Missouri, right? So they may be able to charge something without, intent. I don't know about law over there.
Involved in at play?
No, it was basically all about Jordan, the conversation. And the person that left early, I've spoken with him, and we had a discussion, and I know that he's telling the truth, that he left early, and that when he left, my son was alive.
Bye, honeybee. Thank you for coming in. Get some good sleep. Stay safe.
And he is torn up. He's devastated. He lost 3 of his friends that night. And he wishes that he had stayed or could have done something. But when he left, everything was fine. And so that person has nothing to do with what happened. It's between Jordan and my son and the 2 others, Clayton and Ricky.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your.
So running 2 things at the same time here. Okay, so that's over. I'll keep an eye on that case there. I do want to go to this here that Dandy brought up here. Let me just, too many windows open here. So let's go here to this here. This is the case out. I think this is Colorado. So let's kind of, well, let's play this. I'll play this here first, and then
Bizarre scene.
Union Avenue in Grand Junction.
Sam Troster was at home last Friday when she saw this bizarre scene outside her living room window in Grand Junction.
Oh my God, what? White hazmat looking suits. That's what caught my eye first. That's what was most surprising because I'm like, they're just moving, you know?
Her neighbors across the street moved out earlier that morning, and the new ones showed up a bit later to start cleaning.
And it turns out that the new owners of the house posted online that they were looking to sell a bunch of the garbage that was left behind, scrap metal, things that people could repurpose. And there was a deep freezer that was posted or up for grab.
I'm not sure if you can see, but there's flashlights.
I think they said 3 weeks, Karen. I think, but that was 8 days ago. So is this the one, Dandy?
It's in the garage.
Sam says the people who stopped by to grab the freezer asked if they could use her restroom.
They're looking in that Xterra.
That's when she started asking questions.
So I let them in and I cautiously was like, well, what's going on? And they continued to tell me that they opened the freezer and they were taking the meat that was on top out to empty it out so they could transport it. And they moved the old freeze-dried meat, took out a black bag, and they were opening it, and they said a head fell out.
A human head and hands, according to Mesa County Coroner. The sheriff's office says investigators searched the property for other body parts, but found nothing. As of now, they don't know who this person is, what happened, or when it happened.
People just bought this house.
I feel so bad, you know? I would hate to have to be the family missing that loved one right now. It would be heartbreaking.
A spokesperson for the sheriff's office tells me they're working to figure out who this person is so they can notify family. But as of now, they don't even know if this person is male or female. I'm told they're reaching out to other agencies, trying to see if they have any unidentified people who might be a match.
And did she know the people that moved out very well? Did she have a relationship?
Well, she told me that the community was pretty quiet. She ran into those neighbors a few times. She says it was a son taking care of his elderly mother. They were quiet. They had a lot of stuff in their yard. She doesn't even know if they knew what was in their yard.
Okay. All right. More to come on that for sure. Thank you, Brianna.
Welcome back, Jocelyn. Sorry to hear about that internet thing. I've been having internet problems here all day. So what I want to do here, they don't have a lot going on here with this that I could find on. Hold on a second. I'll try to. Let me just pop out of this here. Yeah, that would be like straight out of a horror film. Let me see if I can play. Did we just watch that one? 9 News. All right, so I'll play this one here, and then I'll probably try to find a write-up on this here. This is odd. When did this happen? Do you know, Dandy?
Sam Troster was at home last Friday when she saw this bizarre scene outside her living room window in Grand Junction.
Oh my God, what?
White hazmat looking suits. That's what caught my eye first. That's what was most surprising because I'm like, they're just moving, you know?
Her neighbors across the street moved out earlier that morning, and the new ones showed up a bit later to start cleaning.
And it turns out that the new owners of the house posted online that they were looking to sell a bunch of the garbage that was left behind, scrap metal, things that people could repurpose. And there was a deep freezer that was posted or up for grab.
I'm not sure if you can see, but there's flashlights in the garage.
Sam says the people who stopped by to grab the freezer asked if they could use her restroom.
They're looking in that Xterra.
That's when she started asking questions.
So I let them in and I cautiously was like, well, what's going on? And they continued to tell me that they opened the freezer and they were taking the meat that was on top out to empty it out so they could transport it. And they moved the old freeze-dried meat, took out a black bag, and they were opening it, and they said a head fell out.
A human head and hands.
A human head fell out. I'd have been like, what is going on here? Be my luck. So I found a pretty decent write-up on this, and I'll Steve's awesome. Steve is it's great to have him here. I love Steve's humor. Steve's humor is amazing.
According to Mesa County Coroner, the sheriff's office says investigators searched.
I deserve it. I used to do. I missed the late nights with Mr. Steve. That time that he was talking about his boss sending him to night shift. You're not going to need your sunglasses for a while. I nearly drove off the road. It was so funny.
The property for other body parts, but found nothing. As of now, they don't know who this person is, what happened, or when it happened.
People just bought this house.
I feel so bad, you know? I would hate to have to be the family missing that loved one right now. It would be hard.
Dandy, there's just, I mean, you just, there's so many cases out there. I've been having trouble just keeping up with cases here in this state. I'm still trying to get an interview with the survivor from the the Connecticut River Valley killer. She's an inspiration, but we'll set that up. Morning Watch was great. Morning Watch is great times. But yeah, I'll cover anything you want me to cover.
Heartbreaking.
A spokesperson for the sheriff's office tells me they're working to figure out who this person is so they can notify family. But as of now, they don't even know if this person is male or female. I'm told they're reaching out to other agencies, trying to see if they have any unidentified people.
Okay, we've already seen this. So let me, yeah, that's right, Steve. Let's see here. This was a few, I think this is the same. Yep, Colorado home. So a human head and hands were discovered in the freezer of a recently sold home in Colorado. So the home was sold. The body parts were found in Grand Junction on the 12th of January. So this is about 2 weeks ago. And deputies responded to the residents regarding a suspicious incident, stated the Mesa County Sheriff's Office. Okay, so person cleaning out. Hold on. Sold, discovered possible human remains inside the residence. So it is being investigated as a homicide. An autopsy conducted by the Mesa County Coroner's Office confirmed the head and hands were human, but the remains have not yet been identified. So they'll probably have to go dental records. Our hope is to positively identify the victim while remaining respectful of the victim and the victim's family. At this time, we have no other definitive answers until further testing can be completed. And these will take a significant amount of time. So they're probably, I mean, dental records, I would think. Or fingerprint, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, Steve's awesome. 20 years of training leads me to this conclusion. All right, so let's see if I can get more on this here. Let's do this one here. This was 10 days ago. All right, hold on a second. Let's share this here. Yeah, this is definitely strange. Thank you for sharing this with me, Dandy. Appreciate it. All right, so this was done. When was this done? 10 days ago. A human head was found in freezer in Mesa County. Okay,
police are now investigating the find as a homicide. A discovery happening on Friday afternoon on Pignon Avenue near 30 Road. Residents living on that quiet street say that a mother and son lived inside of that home but sold it and moved out, leaving a heap of things in that yard. Neighbors say that the person who purchased the house posted online that anything left behind would be free to whoever wanted it. While hours later, the woman living across the street says that police were called.
And all of a sudden I get a knock on my door, and it's one of the people that went to go purchase or pick up one of the free items, and it was a deep freezer in the garage. On top of it, I guess there was a bunch of just animal meat as they were cleaning it out to pack it up, and there was a black bag, and they opened the bag and a human head fell out.
Yeah, that's pretty awful. Mesa County officials have confirmed to our news partners that it was in fact a human head. They also believe that this is an isolated incident. At this time, the identity of the
Steve and Mrs. Steve are they are such a great thing to have in true crime, man. It's nothing but respect for both of them, especially Mrs. Steve. But always enjoy Steve being here. For sure.
deceased has not been released.
So they'll probably do, I don't know, dental records or something like that for this one here. So I'm going to get out of these here. Once I get some more information on this, I'll try to post these here to this, because this is probably going to be a long case here. So, all right. So, yeah. Let me, I did want to go to a couple of cases that I had prepared for tonight. Let's see here, but I do want to do this one here. Yeah, this is the one I wanted to do. Okay, so let's okay, so let me share this. This is going back to the Brian Koberger stuff. This was that was Colorado, I think, Karen. Okay, so this guy here is back in court. So let's take a look at this.
Koberger expected back in court today for the first time in the new year, and all eyes are on whether they leave with a new trial date set.
It's time to prepare, time to get ready, and time to get some answers.
The prosecution has requested the trial be held this summer when schools are out of session. The parents of victim Kaylee Gonzalez told us if that doesn't happen, they're concerned it will be pushed to summer 2025.
We know if they don't push for this summer, we're looking at over a year. And that's mind-boggling. It's sickening.
All right. Koberger is charged with the murder of 4 University of Idaho students, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez in November 2022. A judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf, and he said through a former attorney he believes he'll be exonerated. Steve and Christy Gonzalez preparing to again come face to face with the suspect in court today.
How does it feel to see Brian Koberger in that courtroom?
It's hard to keep control of yourself, you know.
It's not fun to see this person be able to sit with a nice, tidy haircut, nice clean shave, a suit.
Before they get to the question of the trial date, several procedural hearings. Koberger's team asking the court to reconsider its previous decision to deny their motions to dismiss the grand jury indictment.
The more that they can complicate it and the more that they can delay it, it is harder for the state, to have to put their arms around all of this.
Earlier this month,
We'll do Southern Gal. I'll check that out too.
the judge ordered the prosecution to turn over to the defense some of the DNA records they say led them to Koberger. That's all under seal.
We just want to know about the evidence. There's just a lot of unknowns, and how long do you have to wait before you can find out about your own child's life and what happened and who did this and how do you hold them accountable?
This guy here, Brian Koberger, is such a douchebag. Sorry for the French, but I can't stand this guy. Ugh.
And as Christy Gonzalez pointed out, Brian Kohberger has been allowed to wear a suit in his pre-trial appearances. A former county prosecutor in Idaho told us that is highly unusual. She says in every case she's tried in her 33 years, the defendant came to court in their jail clothing for pre-trial hearings. A court spokesperson told us back in June, Kohberger's attorneys asked if he could wear his own clothes, and the judge agreed. Savannah.
All right, Liz.
Really?
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn to our senior legal correspondent, Laura Jarrett. Good morning. So what are you expecting today? 2 separate hearings. What's this all about?
Yeah. So remember, this is a death penalty eligible case. There is an enormous amount of physical evidence and circumstantial evidence. So if I am Kohberger's defense attorney, I am doing everything possible to delay. And that's what we've seen. So now today he's trying to get.
Yeah, I'm going to play that soon too. They got to be careful. You know, just like I say in the Delphi thing, you know, I mean, they're the victims' families. I get that, but you got to be careful. You don't want this guy to walk either, especially this guy.
Get a second bite at the apple on motions that he has already lost. This is in front of the same judge. I think it's highly unlikely that the judge is going to actually reverse himself or say, actually, he can leapfrog over me and go straight to the Court of Appeals. I think that's highly unlikely. But all the time that this is going on, he's not facing the death penalty. And so that's a strategic win for him.
So this crime happened 14 months ago.
Yeah.
Typically, when would a trial date be set? It feels like things are dragging.
So what's unusual about this is not that there's been a delay or 14 months. It's a murder case. That makes sense. It's that there hasn't even been a date that gets delayed and delayed. We see that all the time. It's the fact that there hasn't even been even a schedule. And I think today, I know I'm a broken record on this, but I might actually finally see one, since the prosecution is asking for a summer trial date because they want the school not to be in session. And I think today we might actually see a trial date set.
And finally, let's talk about what Liz just alluded to, the fact that, you know, contrary to what is customary in that court, he's allowed to wear a suit and tie.
I've seen it both ways. And I think.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. You know, it's just I've always said, you look at the way Richard Allen looks, and then you look at Brian Kohberger, he's like dressed in a 3-piece suit. It's just sickening.
I think it depends on the jurisdiction. It certainly is up to the judge. You can understand the defense wants it because it humanizes him, makes him not look like a suspect. But they're not in front of a jury yet, guys, right? This is only in the court of public opinion. It could be tainting the jury pool, but it's not actually tainting the jury yet.
So usually at a jury trial, a defendant wears civilian clothes. But at these pretrial hearings, you're used to seeing them in the orange jumpsuit, but the judge has let him wear a suit for this.
Yes.
All right, Laura, thank you.
Hey, this to me, that's just kind of bizarre. All right, so we're going to go to that one there. So the family is talking about some more of the crime scene here. Let's play that. I hope everybody knows about this case. But this case will be years down the road. There'll be stays, and it's just horrible. These poor family.
Season with these, like, can't really season with them, but you can cook with them. Yeah, I know that's in front of the.
So this
This
is
morning,
parents talking.
Kaylee Gonzalez's parents sharing exclusively with GMA never before seen pictures and videos of their 21-year-old daughter.
There's a type of, you can like season with these, like, can't really season with them, but you can cook with them. Yeah, I know that's in front of the tower.
Yeah.
This is in front of the University of Idaho Tower.
I've been having internet problems all day too, Jocelyn. My HG and my backspace still don't work, so I'm gonna have to get another computer here because I got my computer wet a few months back and it's just never been the same. So
The family still waiting on a full digital copy of Kaylee's phone from authorities.
I just love this computer and I don't want to get another one. I'm really lazy when it comes to that stuff, but it's got to go.
To the last moments of your child's life, and you're sitting here fighting with somebody who just doesn't care.
They were able to collect some of Kaylee's belongings from the university over the summer, which raised concerns for them about how well possible evidence was processed, including a trash can from Kaylee's room that was full and appeared untouched.
We opened it. It was a little squeezy applesauce thing that you would give to like a toddler. It did not appear to have been gone through.
Police saying they had gathered more than 100 pieces of physical evidence from the scene, along with some 4,000 photos and 3D scans of the residence. Still, frustration mounting for the family over what they consider a lack of communication.
I can probably go over that a little bit tonight too, Karen, the Crumley case.
And a rush to tear down the home on King Road. Christy describes for the first time how Kaylee was found.
It's my understanding Kaylee was kind of sitting up.
Hello, Lynn. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Good to see you as always.
And had fought.
Yeah. And the way that room's put together, if you come through that door, you
and had fought.
Mounting for the family over what they consider a lack of communication and a rush to tear down the home on King Road. Christy describes for the first time how Kaylee was found.
It's my understanding Kaylee was kind of sitting up. And
Sitting up.
had fought.
And fought. That's strange.
and the way that room's put together, if you come through that door, you can't get out of that room.
Completely, totally trapped.
You're in a
Tiny,
bed.
tiny room. The bed was the entire room. You could barely open up the door without swiping the foot of the bed. And it was wall. You know, the headboard was up against the wall. The side where Kaylee was on was up against the wall. And if you can imagine Kaylee in an upright sort of position, up in the corner, slumped. I mean, she was trapped.
The home on King Road was torn down in the pre-dawn hours of December 28th.
This is just bizarre. That whole, it's just really weird that they're saying that. That is kind of weird. But I agree with Steve. So let's, I want to do this too, because I wanted to get into this, but I'm going to try to find a little bit more about that story there too. Hold on a second. So let's play this here. I wanted to get to a couple of different things tonight. This happened too this week, the Mojave Desert thing. So let's play this here. 6 bodies found near El Mirage. Let's see here. This is 2 days after deputies found the bodies of 6 people at a remote crossroads in the Mojave Desert. The scene describes so grisly that images had to be blurred. Let's check this out.
For the bodies of 6 people found in a remote area of the Mojave Desert, detectives offering new details into what happened, but we caught up with one expert who weighs in on why they may have been killed. Inland Empire.
One thing I don't understand about the Idaho 4 case is you have a witness that saw him walking out or heading towards her, right? The surviving witness, and she describes him almost to a T, right? But she doesn't describe him holding a knife. So where was the knife? I mean, if he left, the sheath there, he must have put the knife somewhere, and I'm pretty sure he didn't put it in a pocket. Maybe he did. I don't know. But that's always kind of had been a question that I've had about that. All right, so bodies found here.
Our Bureau Chief Rob McMillan is live in San Bernardino with more on the investigation. Rob.
Right. Well, first off, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is not releasing any new information on this case today. They say there's still a lot of work left to be done. But one thing a lot of people are wondering about is whether these murders are somehow connected to organized crime. 2 days after a grisly discovery in the high desert, detectives with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department are still on scene investigating. Evidence gathered so far suggests a massive amount of gunfire, shell casings all over the place, at least one of the vehicles riddled with bullet holes. A total of 6 bodies were found, some of them apparently set on fire. But what actually happened out here? With so little information, one can only speculate.
When I hear of a multi-victim homicide out in a very remote, desolate area like this, the first thing I think of is organized crime.
Bill Bodner is a former special agent in charge of the DEA, now retired. He has no inside information on this case, but has extensive experience with organized crime rings.
I know from my experience that part of the Inland Empire, there's a lot of organized crime involvement in unlicensed cannabis cultivation. There's also a lot of involvement in what are called methamphetamine conversion laboratories, taking liquid methamphetamine that's smuggled across the border, bringing it to a very desolate area, and then converting it to crystal meth where it can be sold.
So why set the bodies on fire?
A lot of times that's done to try to disguise the identity of the victim and also to destroy evidence. If there was some type of struggle and there could have been a transfer of DNA, a transfer of hair particles.
There's also the question about how the call came in.
I must have missed that. I'll have to go over and watch that one again about the knife there.
To dispatch in the first place. Detectives not saying the caller was reporting the discovery of bodies or reporting a fire, but simply requesting a welfare check in the area.
Really?
Bodner says it suggests that person may have somehow been involved in the incident.
Whether it's friends of theirs, associates of theirs, who knows? But it sounds like potentially someone who was there or someone who knew at least what happened there.
So who is that person? The sheriff's department says at this point, they do not know the identity of that caller. And we also don't know whether the sheriff's department has been able to identify any of the bodies. Remember, at least 4 of them were set on fire. So unless they found ID, perhaps cell phones or other kind of evidence, identification could take quite some time.
Yeah, that's weird. That's bizarre. I'll try to find more on that too. Hold on a second. I'm going to go to, I had another one set up here. I want to play this one too. This is the Shanda Vander Ark case here. This was done this week too. I'm trying to go over all the cases this week, then I'll try to share this. This woman here is just a nightmare. She's just a sicko. Stop screen. Okay, so this woman here, sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. This is what me and Southern Gal call the crocodile heave lady. Oh my God.
Life in prison without the possibility of parole after being convicted of killing her 15-year-old son.
You testified yourself how highly intelligent you were. In fact, that's the only thing that you testified to that I think was actually true.
This woman here is out of her mind. She's just
quite proud of that, boasting how intelligent you were. Quite frankly, there's a mother's love that I've seen that is striking. And anybody who's a parent who's married, most mothers, and not all, but most mothers have such a strong love for their children. And to see what you did to your own child, I don't know if there's a word in the English language to describe how to describe it. I only can come up with just horrific. You know, toward the end of these text messages, you and Paul are talking about not wanting him to win. He's not going to win. I didn't allow pictures to be shown in open court of Timothy as he was when he died, because I didn't want people to remember him like that. But of all the things you took away from him, one thing I didn't want you to take away from him was at least some shred of dignity. A beautiful child with a lot of life in his eyes. That's who your son was. And you took that from him.
Yeah, I was saying you should have that as like your subscribers when you get monetized. You should have the band members, Southern Gal. Yeah, I love. Let me tell you something. You give everything you can give to your kids. You know, you don't take anything away from them. That's for sure.
I'm choosing to remember him as a happy individual with life.
What's going on with these courthouses? Look at this place. Good Lord. Look at this. This is beautiful.
Not as an individual. And that's the picture I want people to remember of your son. You took that from him. You took it from him. For what reason, I don't know. Mr. Johnson's right. There is something broken in you. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't negate.
Everybody who wants to can post their lives in the chat, their channels. Southern Gal's great. Southern Gal has a great channel. Of course, Steve, True Crime Web. Anybody that has a channel, anybody that wants to post can, for sure.
What you did here. So
I have no problem with people posting their own channels in here. So
besides remembering him like that, I'm not going to let you hide in the darkness anymore. People know what you are now. They know what you did.
Police found Timothy Ferguson dead and severely malnourished inside the family's home. The few photos of the victim taken around his death were deemed too graphic to be shown to the public, but this photo here was shown today in court. The jury deliberated for a little more than an hour before finding his mother guilty on all charges. Today at sentencing, her two oldest children addressed the court.
Timothy was so smart. He could take anything apart with any tools or none at all. He had trouble focusing, but when he did, he was just as smart as the rest of his class. He made people angry, yes, but then he would look at you with those big baby blue eyes and you could never stay mad at him. I knew him his whole life. I held him the day he was born and I continued to try to hold his hand as long as he was by my side, until he wasn't. I want the woman who killed my little brother to face the highest punishment possible. I want her detained for the rest of her life so she can't hurt anyone else. And I want the world to know that Timothy was wanted. If not by her, then by me. He was loved by me.
I thought that things were different than when I was younger. I thought my mother had changed for the better. Not one day has been easier since then. I've had to leave my career behind. My wife has to watch helplessly as I struggle, day in and day out, wondering how none of us knew what was going on, wondering if I told Tim I loved him enough times for him to remember up until the very end. I have to wake up every day and pretend that I am who I was before Timothy died. I have to pretend to be Nolan so that my friends and coworkers and family won't worry about me more than they already do. I'm surrounded by people who love me and care about me, but not a single person besides my sisters who understand how hard it is. Timothy wasn't surrounded by people who loved him when he died. And if I had known that, nothing could have stopped me from rescuing him and holding him in my arms and telling him I love him, that his big brothers got him, just like I did the day he was born. But because of Sean DeVanderrock's actions, I instead got to cradle the bag of his ashes in my arms, just like I did the day he was born. In all my life, I only knew one thing that my little brother didn't like.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for Karen for posting those in here. Frankie too. Frankie's awesome. The think tank. Steve, Kristen behind the crime door. I haven't been able to get over there for a while. I've been busy doing other shit, getting other people's channels going. But Kristen at True Crime is awesome too. She's a great lady. All right, what was I doing?
He hated goodbyes.
This case here just bothers the crap out of me because people that can't defend themselves, people that are victims like this here, just insane. This woman is nuts.
He had to say goodbye to anyone. He would cry and he would hold you and he would say, "Don't go." But now I'm the one crying, but I never got to say goodbye. I will always love Timothy like I always have. And it kills me to think about, but I know he loved even his abuser and killer up until the very end, because unlike me, that's all he was capable of, love. I, on the contrary, want to stand here and express the anger and hatred that I feel, but if I'm honest, all that's just a mask, a bandage I try to put over the hole in my heart that was reserved for Timothy, but is now just filled with pain and remorse for every hug, high five, and I loved you that I might have missed in the time that I had with my sweet baby brother. So now I turn to the justice system in hopes that in addition to serving the maximum penalty, that there will be no appeals or second chances. If I can't have my brother back, she shouldn't have her freedom back.
You know, it's interesting. The judge mentioned during his sentencing that he took note of the fact that Shonda Vander Ark never looked at either of those two kids as they were delivering their statement. So he made a note of that. All right, let's bring back in our guest, still with us, President of West Coast.
So I just did the ticker down here, the Invisible Tears podcast. That's forgot a name now. I always forget a name. Sorry, but that's I've been following that case forever. The Connecticut River Valley killer there. That this is her podcast here. She was the only survivor. I think she was attacked in the parking lot, and she was stabbed like I don't know, 17 times or so. She was pregnant at the time too. She's an amazing woman here. This I'm gonna try to get her on here if I can, just to talk to her and stuff. She's a great woman. But that's her podcast there.
Trial lawyers, and Nima Rahmani, and Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé. And Nima, I'll start with you. He sentenced her to life in prison without parole. Really had no choice on the top charge. The second charge, though, it was the first-degree child abuse, sentenced her above the range, the sentencing range, 50 to 100 years, sending a message. Your reaction?
Oh, yeah, absolutely the right message. Here's someone who tortured her son. He was 69 pounds when he died, covered in hot sauce, what he ate, his genitalia. It was a special place in hell for someone like her. Didn't accept any responsibility, pled not guilty, subjected her kids to this, and her other child, of course, Paul, still needs to be sentenced for his role in this. So this is one of the worst criminal defendants that I've covered in all the times I've done court TV. So this was absolutely the right sentence.
Agreed. All right, let's get a quick one viewer comment that I want to read. Kelly says, "Good job, Judge. I cried listening to her kids talk in the impact statements and the amount of guilt and sadness in their hearts, and she could care less." Absolutely. Philip, you know what else was interesting? People were also impressed by the judge. The judge was talking about how he had taken some of this home with him. He has his own children, and just the things that they deal with. Speak to that aspect, both as a defense attorney and judges dealing with these types of cases day in and day out. It's not easy.
Well, it's a foregone conclusion that she was going to get life in prison. I mean, there was no way around it. The judge just had to fashion sort of a lawful yet tactful and classy way of articulating its reasons for giving her what the law allows for in terms of maximum punishment. But he did it in a kind, I don't want to say tender, but almost in a generous way. He was able to emphasize just how systematic, consistent, and nonstop the torture really was. And he made a finding of that. Well, what does that mean? It means this wasn't just a one-off where she kind of blew a fuse, lost her temper with the kid, but this was an ongoing, complete domination of that child with terror, fear, and punishment, and fed him a hot sauce that was probably some type of noxious substance that could burn a hole right through you. He sent the right message to her.
Yeah, no doubt. And he said something that stuck with me. He basically said he believed her when she said she didn't want to kill him. And she said, that's because you wanted to keep him alive so you could keep torturing him. So just to give you a sense of what this was all about.
All right, so that's that there. She was she's going to prison for a very, very long time. I wouldn't doubt if there's a mistrial. I mean, not a mistrial, but an appeal in that. There's always an appeal, unfortunately. Okay, so we're going to do the Crumley thing now. I'm not going to do the whole trial thing because that's like 5 or 6 hours, but I'll do this bit here. She's the mom of the school unaliver here. So let's hold on a second. I'm going to share this before I have Karen yell at me. Hold on a second. There you go.
Short break.
Okay. Your Honor, my client could use a second if we could, please. She's like, I'm trying to like. Okay. We had. Okay, I understand. Yeah. Thank you. I understand.
Okay, so we're going to take a 10-minute break, so if you can be ready to your sergeant, I'm in the habit of demoting and promoting people while they're in this game. Your sergeant?
No, ma'am, I'm an analyst now.
Analyst.
Civilian employee, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you're a civilian.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
You dismissed her. Okay.
Yes, sir, ma'am.
You are still a witness and still under oath, so you can't discuss your testimony.
My sister had a special needs child, Bryant. Unfortunately passed away. I think he was 20. But you probably heard dead hands off of him, like he was everything to her. So I feel bad for that whole situation.
If anyone during the break.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can step down.
All rise for the jury.
So we got a problem here. We've got Jennifer Crumbly sitting there crying in front of the jury. And in any case, not just this one, it is prohibited.
So this is the mother of the unaliver in 2021. This is I think this is the first time they've charged a parent for this. Is that the case? Not sure.
That
Karen Lee is awesome. Karen Lee is excellent moderator. She's I think she was one of my first people in a chat. So Karen Lee's great.
Parties, lawyers, people involved in the case be showing emotion before the jury. That can impact the jury, sway them, and they get instructions ahead of time on that. As a matter of fact, this issue went before the court yesterday because it was a problem yesterday, and she was getting visibly emotional she had been previously instructed by the judge not to display emotion before the jury, and her attorney and the judge got into a pretty big back and forth because the attorney was getting emotional. And the state's office took issue with it, saying how, they're playing by the rules, want the other side to do the same. While the jury's being taken out right now, so Jennifer.
That's incredible, Southern Gal. That's awesome.
For Crumbly can get it together. Let's play that moment from yesterday.
To have not just the defendant, her lawyer sit there sobbing.
I did not sob.
I just want to finish, Your Honor. I just want to finish. I think if that is the instruction.
The funny thing is I have everything prepared for the week. I try to get everything set up for the week, cover the cases I want to cover, have everything, set up side by side, row by row. And as soon as I go to the live, just everything, all hell breaks loose. It's funny shit.
We are trying really hard to respect the
But it isn't a live unless you have a catastrophe.
court's instruction because I understand the reason for it.
Okay, I didn't tell people not to show emotion. Some of that is involuntary. But there are good times in this courtroom during trials when people will show facial expressions or things like that, or make comments. I understand this is a very emotional situation for everyone here, right? If someone was audibly sobbing in the audience.
I mean, this courtroom looks like a dump compared to the other one.
I would hope that they would exit. And as you said, the reason for it. I didn't tell anybody not to show emotion. I guess some emotion is involuntary. So I guess I'm asking what you're asking.
I think it just.
I think this is the first time I can remember that they've actually charged. Did they charge? They were gonna. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure this is or the first or the second one for sure, where they've actually charged the parents.
It should apply to both sides.
Prosecutor's right here. It should apply to both sides. She's right. And if someone cannot contain themselves, we see what just happened, right? We've seen it before here on Court TV where the judge will tell the jury, go take a break. I'm going to dismiss you for now while this witness.
it's the reason why I got into true crime, because I have no respect for somebody that abuses somebody that can't defend themselves, especially violence towards women and, you know, kids and anybody that can't defend themselves. I mean, it's just wrong. It's just no place for that anywhere in society, period.
Gets it together while they regroup because you cannot have that in front of a jury. Some things, as the judge said, yes, can be somewhat involuntary, but when you see floods of emotion, that is a no-no. And here, I just have to wonder where it's coming from, don't you? Is Jennifer Crumbley truly devastated by seeing this? She's sorry for herself.
Steve, you do fine. But it's because of Mrs. Steve that you do fine. We love Mrs. Steve. Mrs. Steve's great. I got to apologize to her for the whole Georgia thing, the Alabama-Georgia thing. We should have just let Georgia beat us. I can't believe we lost to Michigan. My God.
We don't know the origin of those tears. Let me bring in someone who is no stranger to the courtroom. He does criminal defense work in Los Angeles.
It's embarrassing to lose to Michigan.
So pleased to have on the show the Deputy Public Defender for LA County, Mr. Philip Dubé. Good morning, my friend. Nice to see you.
Morning.
Oh boy. Okay, so this is a tough one. You know, I'm sure you've been through this many times in your career. Talk to me, Philip. What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, I think it's a little unfair and a little unrealistic to expect people to turn their emotions on and off like a faucet. It would be one thing if they were crocodile tears and she's putting on a show just to sort of curry favor, if you will, with the jury. Because
I mean, we literally beat the best team in the country just to lose to Michigan. It's just like, it's God.
we've seen the flip side of this, Julie. We've had situations where defendants show no emotion and we hold it against them. You know, they look wooden and unflappable in front of the jury as if they have, you know, they're cold as ice and they're mean and evil inside. But I think the fact that she is shedding real tears humanizes her. I don't know that
Yeah, I'd retire too if I just lost to Michigan. I mean, I'd probably get out of there too. He's probably going to USC or something like that. He's not retiring. He's just heading out of Alabama for sure.
it's really quite so audible as it is more visible. And I don't know. I don't think a judge can order anybody not to shed a tear because I don't think it's realistic, nor is it physically possible to prevent someone from crying. It's ridiculous. Now, on the other hand, I understand how you got to keep it together. And if that's the case, you can whisper over to your lawyer, you know, I think I need a moment. And then you stand up as her counsel and say, Your Honor, I think we need a break. And it's in connection with the court's ruling. And that's all. And then you clear the courtroom, you let her get the tears out of her system, and then you resume where you left off.
Exactly, Philip. You do it discreetly. You do it with minimal disruption because we all know sometimes we have emotions that we just can't help, but it can't become a distraction, right? And we can see there is tension. There is definite tension. We picked up on it yesterday. I'm sure you did, between the prosecution and the defense on this one. We've witnessed some big battles the jury hasn't seen in a lot of these pre-trial motions that were litigated with the cameras.
All right, so let's play this one here.
Yes. Okay. I know the court does not like objections in the midst of testimony. There is an officer that is going to be testifying. I have numerous objections to many of his exhibits that are proposed. And Your Honor, I just want to make the record clear. I received all of the material.
That's a classic. It's a classic, right? If you see Mrs. Steve outside your house, she's after your dog. Oh, my Lord.
In this case, in over 30 discovery, sets of discovery given to me. Okay, I went through all the discovery, obviously, as it came in. I did not get the exhibits that were being used in this trial.
She can have the long-haired shepherd that I paid $3,000 for. That's for sure. He's a dummy.
They weren't identified. I didn't get them until after day one of jury selection. So I have done my best.
There's a scheduling order in this case.
Judge, all of the exhibits come from the discovery. This digital evidence was turned over 2 years ago.
Well, she doesn't say she didn't have the evidence.
I'm not saying I didn't have the evidence. I'm saying that it wasn't identified until after day one of jury selection. So I just want the court to know I'm doing my best to object and to handle the evidence.
I don't envy your job, Ms. Smith, at all. I don't. It's a lot. I don't envy their job either. It's sad. It's voluminous. I know it's very difficult. So tell me what you're asking.
Okay, so the issue is I have numerous objections to exhibits they intend to admit. I know the court does not like to have objections, but
No, that's not true. I didn't want to rule on I didn't want a surprise ruling on a motion this morning. I would have been more prepared and also would have told the jury about it. I don't like the jury waiting for us. There's nothing wrong with objecting to an exhibit as someone attempts to introduce it.
Judge, we handed over the exhibit list with very precise pages, and we did that. We weren't required to at a certain time, but we did that. I think the first day we were here, Ms. Smith told Mr. Keese she would be providing her exhibit list to us that night. We did not receive it. So I'm not sure what the purpose of providing an exhibit list is if she's not going to actually go through it and say, these are the ones I want to object to. These are the ones I have an issue with, and we can talk about it. And then the court knows that there's something to argue about before we bring the jury in.
Your Honor.
Okay, well, I think that's what she's trying to tell me now.
I'm trying to tell you that now, and also every time we've been off the record, I've had conversations with Mr. Keese during this next witness. I'm not objecting to any of these exhibits.
You're welcome, Karen. Yeah, I've been following this case too. There's so many cases out there right now. There's just so many trials going on. There's the other one here too. I'll get the name of it in a second.
Mr. Keese, I plan to object to a lot of the photos with Stoic. I haven't talked to Ms. McDonald, but that doesn't mean I haven't communicated to them when I have objections.
Okay.
That is just misleading, and I'm tired of it.
Okay, I'm saying, I just want to know what the objections are so we don't have it. It'd be great if we could know that before.
How long are we going to be here? Because the jury's waiting. We're going to be back down. So I'm pushing a lot of the deputies here.
We have a few more things. We're just asking, let's hear what the objections are about the exhibits.
I'm going to release the jury.
Okay.
For one thing, these walls are not great with that. And
Yes.
I'm going to
Yes.
the deputies.
Yeah, that's the one. Doulos.
Yeah, let's let the jury go. Okay, can we let the jury go?
Your Honor, I have just a suggestion. I think there's going to be evidentiary issues with some of these exhibits. So I'm wondering if maybe the jury should come.
This is why judges get paid a lot of money, because this bickering back and forth between the prosecution, defense, all of these motions, all of these things. I don't know how a judge does it all. I just don't.
Back at 9:30 today or something.
Ashley, can you tell the jury to come back at 9? Tell the jury to come back at 9. Okay. All
Just
right,
so we have time. I know the court doesn't want to waste their time.
Well, you do one exhibit at a time. There's nothing wrong with that. People do that in trials all the time. But obviously, if we can streamline it in any way and not do all the juries here and have them not moving in and out since they're 17 now. I guess everyone's going to this is going to be on Monday. There's
Oh, poor Steve. We have 2 dogs, 6 cats. I don't think we have another one. I haven't seen any more. And we have 2 guinea pigs. Let's see, a bearded dragon, and then we have the biggest rabbit you'd ever seen in your life downstairs. I don't even go down there. It's huge, and it always gets out too.
Officer Stoyak, who is with what department?
Sheriff's Office, Judge. We don't know if he'll be first witness.
No, and she's let us know she has some issues with some of those pictures, and we'll.
Yeah, I'll be covering that for sure. The Harmony Montgomery, she was such a cute little kid, and this guy here, Adam Montgomery, is just a piece of dog shit. He just is. I can't stand him. He can't get the worst punishment. I mean, there's no such thing as a worse punishment for him.
figure, if she tells us which ones, then we'll decide if we want to stipulate. If not, then we can handle it before the jury's.
Oh, I can already tell you they're not gonna stipulate. I can tell you we're gonna need time on the record, like.
Okay, well, I think.
I'm not sure how to respond to that.
No, I think that the prosecutor was saying that you might stipulate to the admission of some of them, right?
All right, I've seen enough of this stuff. This is just bizarre. All right, so I wanted to play this too, because yes, it's Dave Zoo for sure. This also happened this week here too. This, like I said, there's just so many things going on right now. This woman here got absolutely no jail time, prison time for stabbing her boyfriend more than 100 times. So here we go.
Court. Can you take me to that moment and describe what that was like for you to hear that she would spend no time behind bars?
So if you haven't heard about this case, I kind of read some of it to you. Am I sharing this? Yes. Okay. So the father of a man who was stabbed to death by a woman during an episode of a cannabis-induced psychosis in 2018 is outraged after a judge sentenced the 32-year-old woman to 2 years felony probation and no prison time. So, a cannabis-induced psychosis. I'd never get away with that. Oops.
Well, I don't know if
one thing that
we've got him back. Okay.
One thing that appeared very strange to me is that we were asked to prepare some victim impact
108 times
statements to address the court, and we read our statements, and it really didn't matter. I didn't understand the whole exercise because Judge Worley, when he read his verdict, he had already prepared it. So why put us through that? And at the same time, you've already prepared what you're going to say. You've already predetermined what you're going to say before you've listened to the victim's family. I think David Worley ignored the request of the DA. They wanted the maximum penalty.
Thank you, Jocelyn. I still love your drink coffee thing here. I'm a big coffee fan right here. Huge coffee fan. There's just not enough coffee.
He ignored a recommendation of the probation officer, which was felony jail time. She was to do prison time, and he has shown a tremendous amount of bias in this case towards the victim. Towards the defendant, and I called him out on it. I in my comments to him, I told him, I said,
Southern Gal, this doesn't happen without coffee. If I didn't have coffee, I don't know what would happen. I just don't. It wouldn't be good.
You've been extremely biased against the prosecution. It's been obvious. I mean, in my work, what I have to do as a manager for the University of California system, we are trained to identify bias. We don't tolerate bias. And I could see it. It was explicit. It wasn't even implicit. So everything that happened that day shocked everybody in the courtroom. I think it even shocked her family because of their reaction. And essentially, he let her get away with killing another human being.
So, Sean, about that, unless you've been through the process like you have, people just don't know what it's like inside a courtroom, especially when there is another family on the other side of this impasse. What was that like to be directly next to a family that seemingly was getting pretty good news? Did you talk at all? Did you exchange contact of any kind, eye contact, words, anything?
Well, I'll tell you this. when her father got up to speak, and to answer your question, I don't look at them. I don't want anything to do with them. I don't want, it's, people have sent me all kinds of information about them. I don't want it. It's unnecessary for me to know. Okay. I'm interested in my son, and, you know, I'm there to honor his name and to honor my family and to myself. I have a lot of respect for myself, and I have a lot of respect for my family.
This is just absolutely embarrassing, you know, for the system right here. It's just somebody lost their life. It's just sad.
And unfortunately, their attorneys, their family, and, you know, this system has not shown a lot of respect for my son's life. But I will say that her father, when he got up to speak for the first time, he acknowledged what his daughter had done. He apologized to me for it, and I shook his hand. But unfortunately, as he hands me an olive branch, his attorney, Robert Schwartz, goes into some speech and then tries the whole victim blaming thing in front of the judge again. I mean, he just burnt the olive branch down. So
I'm going to be going up to, I finally got my truck back, my Dodge. I had to put a new transmission in it, whole bunch of shit. So it's been a while, but I'm going to be going up to, actually, I'm going to be going down to Amherst, Massachusetts, and I'm going to try to recreate the Mara Murray Drive to New Hampshire to Woodsville. I'm going to take some video. I have to go in February because that's when she apparently went missing. Because February is a different animal around here than. So I'll be taking that up there and getting some video on that, the whole trip, because I want to see, you know, what it took her to get up there, the gas, which exit she would have taken, because I have issues with the accident scene up there. So I want to get some, plus I want to get some video of the area up there. So I have that planned for probably the second or third week into February.
No, there's been some misconduct by her mother. She's confronted me in the hallway once. She confronted some other people in a hallway, and her oldest brother, he constantly stares me down, which is really a fool's errand. They have to remember what's happened here. Their sister, their daughter, butchered my son. I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about this verdict. I'm not happy with David Worley, Judge David Worley. I am not happy with him at all. And I think the message that he has sent is that, you know, victims really are not considered, at least by him. Now, I don't want to lump all judges into sort of one group, but we seem to be seeing way too many perpetrators of crime not truly be punished for the crime they commit. And if you don't do that, there's no deterrent. The crime is just going to get worse. So now he's opened Pandora's box. Everybody that smokes marijuana and kills somebody, there's
100% agreed, Steve. This is just oh, go ahead, Dandy. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you being here always. You're awesome. Yeah, get some good sleep. It's going to be just stay safe. How somebody can just brutally attack somebody like this 108 times and just get basically a slap on the wrist for 2 years is just a joke.
Precedent. They should get probation, right? So I did in the courtroom express at one point, I said, you, sir, have just given people a license to kill. That's what you've just done. And I sincerely mean that. You cannot allow people that, regardless of what they feel they're doing or their state of mind, to not have any punishment.
She'll probably do this again.
For the taking of a human life. It was absurd. And it was kind of a disgrace to his profession, I think. But my understanding is he's going to retire in February, so he's not worried about re-election. He doesn't care.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com.
All right, so that's the end of that one. I think I'm going to get out of here too. I've been here almost, I can't believe I've been here almost an hour and a half, over an hour and a half, but I'm going to be doing that. The Mara Murray thing has always been a problem with me, that whole crime accident scene up there. So I've been trying to schedule that to get up there and get that done. I've always wanted to check that out. But I also want to get some other areas around here. The Mindy West crime scene in Manchester there, and then connected to the Connecticut River Valley case there. I'm going to go and try to find the spot in Unity, New Hampshire, where one of the other victims was found there. So anyways, you guys are all great. Steve's great. Steve, go check Steve out if you haven't. Everybody knows who the hell Steve is. Southern Gal is amazing. She does amazing work. We need to get her to 1,000 subs. So I've been sharing her stuff, liking her stuff, subbing to her stuff. Dandy Lioness is great too. She's I don't know if Dandy has her own channel or not. Jocelyn's great. Jocelyn, I think Jocelyn is a night shift person too. So I don't know if she has her own channel or not. Who else is in here? Honeybee was in here. Karen Lee is awesome. Karen Lee is a great moderator. She's a moderator in the Mob Crew with Chris. Chris is awesome too. Go check him out. I've been watching Chris for years, since he started. Who else was here? Let's see here. I think that's it. Honeybee was here. Honeybee's great. She lives over here in New Hampshire too, I think. And who else was here? I think that's it. Everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe. Go check out all the other channels. I think Southern Gal's having a live tomorrow night. But you all stay safe. And we'll see you all at some point, probably next week. Have a good night, everyone.